analyzed this case of someone who was allegedly R-worded with a remote control, I think it was.
Yeah.
And Shane was allegedly the scouter for Diddy in this allegation. So that's the Shane that we're referring
That
to.
story has changed as well because it was initially said that the beginning of that story, and this is the thing that I find interesting, they keep talking about the story, but they keep segmenting things out that were initially said that they're now stopping ever since the RICO charges have been put firmly in place since the arrest. Allegedly, Ashley was on the phone and she was talking to Diddy. Someone, I guess it's the Shane person, put her on the phone with Diddy. And I guess Diddy was asking her if she wanted to party and hang out. And she said, no, because I know what you did to Tupac. And then that's when she was coerced to come to the next location where Diddy was with Christina Coram, who also administered unlawful medical procedure on this woman at the same time while, during the midst of the whole graping with the remote control. Like, that wasn't just some freak off. That woman was brought there to be punished because she called him out for doing what allegedly we all believe he did to Tupac Shakur. That wasn't just some wild moment of SA passion. That was done to her to make sure she never talked about the Tupac thing again. And how do you have that client and that lawyer in that documentary and that part be completely excluded? Sounds like all these people need to get fired. They just need to hire me.
There did seem to be a lot left out.
A lot left out.
And a lot left in. Courtney made a good appearance, which is odd.
Listen to me. I hope you enjoyed it, you big head monkey. After the way he spoke about my son, I don't know if y'all know, since he came here and did the foolishness he did the last time, him and Adria decided they was going to go live and try to convince the whole world that I had my son sacrificed.
Oh,
disrespectful.
Did you know that?
Shit. Yeah, I saw that.
no.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I'm sorry, Ariel kid. I don't believe you. You got She Diddy as a victim. You got Courtney Bum as a victim. You were representing Jamal, Todd, whatever. You seem to be involved with a lot of frauds. And meanwhile, there's a very real victim on your roster. And the most important part of her story, you didn't make sure they put that. If they couldn't get the police report, you couldn't make sure that story made it? You don't sound like much of an attorney to me. I'm glad you fleed me. Who would want you representing them? That was your big moment. You've been sitting around, running around, doing all these interviews. Then you disappear right before this comes out. And the most important part of your client's story, you don't include. But you did make sure to get that big face buffoon up there who disrespected my friend with all of the very unreal details that were put in that very real cry for help. And that's what I was saying when me and Courtney first went at it the first time. None of this sex stuff got anything to do with this woman's actual real story. Because tales of the abuse were in that diary. And more than what they put in there. Truth is, would nobody be even talking about Cassie if Kim had lived? Because it would have been Kim and her diary and her evidence that she had been collecting for years that would have had Diddy probably convicted already by now. See, the Cassie allegation is easier to beat. You couldn't beat Kim. You couldn't beat Kim at all, which is why you've gone out of your way to terrorize everybody and anybody that knew that it existed or had any interaction with it, including me. It's sad.
So,
It's
Jack,
sad.
if you were to rank the people in the documentary in order of credibility, where would you put Gene Deal?
Let me give you my lineup. I'll be sure. Ashley, Gene Deal, and then you can do what you want to do with the rest of them.
That's a great answer.
Jess is wondering, talk about the guy who remained anonymous in the documentary. It sounded like Courtney. Who was that guy?
That was not Courtney and it wasn't Little Rod. But if it is who I think it is, out of respect for him and his family, I won't even think about trying to remember his name. Because he had footage from inside the studio. And they just showed that clip. I'm sure there's a lot more.
So Sonia's wondering your thoughts on how Diddy might feel about Cassie now having a beautiful family. Do you think she will finally be left in peace?
Well, I mean, I think it would be wise for people to go back and watch his acceptance speech on BET for his Lifetime Achievement Award. When Young Miami was there as his paramour, holding a banner that says, "Go Daddy."
He thanks her.
And he didn't thank
Dark times.
her. He thanked Cassie
For holding it down.
for holding him down through the dark times after she had moved on and married and started a family. Is everyone forgetting how people were saying how Diddy was still approaching Cassie as if they were still in a relationship after she had left him while she was with Mr. Fine, her husband? You heard about that, right? Like he was still pretending, he was still including her in posts while she was a married woman. And people kept, even 50 Cent said something to say about it. Man, when's the time to let go? He said, I don't know when I feel like letting go. He said he bragged about still going after Cassie while she was newly married and it just had a baby. They're like, but they married, they have a baby. He's like, well, you know, it's my girl. That's how he was still referring to her. And if we pay attention to what the documents in the lawsuit said, after she left him, he came and he assaulted her one more time. So I want you to think about all of that. And now let's rewind 30 years and think about the story my friend Albert just told you about what Diddy did to him and his wife. And even though he went through all of that trouble to claim Kim away from Albie Shore, he still turned around and got their other friend Sarah pregnant while him and Kim were together, which is why the twins and Chance are so close in age. He was sleeping with all of the friends, and he was friends with all of their boyfriends and husbands. I don't know. That to me is a clear line of that's behavior. That's calculated behavior that's been going on for 30 years. This man does not know how to take no for an answer. This man must have what else. You know, did you ever see The Count of Monte Cristo?
I read it.
Thinking about this story now, it makes me think about that. Whether you read it or whether you saw the film, any one of them, there was one line when Count Mondego, because it was Edmond Dantes and Count Mondego. And Count Mondego was the wealthy son of, nobility. And Edmond Dantes was a hardworking guy who was working his way up in the world the honest way. He was in love with a beautiful woman. And every time Edmond turned his back, Fernand is sitting there all up in Mercedes' face. You're gonna be mine one day. You don't want to be the wife of a ship hand. I'm noble, and you should leave him for me. And whoopty whoopty woo. And she looked at him and she said, "Do you remember when we were children? And you got a pony for Christmas, and Edmond got that whistle, and Edmond was so happy with his whistle that it pissed you off, and you didn't even appreciate the horse you had just gotten." And she looked at him in the story and says, "Fanon, I am not going to be your new whistle." And what did he do? He turned around, set his friend up, let him go to jail for the rest of his life for a crime he didn't commit that he set up. And what did he end up having for all of that time? He had Mercedes, and he had the child that he posed as his family, his son, his wife, and he made it seem like he did the noble thing because his friend was unalive. And so he came in and then they had a baby. Turns out it was Edmond baby all along. Now, whether he knew it was Edmond's baby or not, who knows? But what mattered to him was being able to take the one thing that made another human being so happy. And guess what? He wasn't happy for long either. He was running around cheating on Mercedes with every woman and whore in Paris and all of that. He went through all of that to get it. And then lost interest. She had said it to him. All I'm going to be to you is a new whistle. And that's how I feel about Diddy. This is a terribly unhappy person that when he sees happiness on another human being, he wants to take it and claim it for himself because he thinks if he gets it, it's going to make him feel better. And then he gets it, and then he just doesn't care anymore. And then he goes off looking for a new whistle. All of these relationships with these women that he's had publicly have overlapped. Publicly. Meanwhile, we can't stop hearing about all these male victims that happened in the midst of all of these overlapping female relations. Do y'all see where I'm going? I'm going to fall back. I'm going to let y'all talk.
Tommy, what have you got?
To me, this is it's never been about the male, the female, anything. This is a guy that gets his rocks off making people do things they don't want to do. Right. So if you could get somebody that's heterosexual and force them to do something that's goes against that, that's about as far as you can push a human being to get them to do something that is outside your comfort zone. Right. Sleep with the sex you're not accustomed to sleeping with. That's about as bad as you can do. And we keep hearing in all of these lawsuits where he'll say to a bodyguard, "You get in there, you do it next." And everybody assumes that the bodyguard's like, "Yeah, let's do this." My gut is he's probably making these people do things that they're going to regret for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? You heard in the documentary, right? You get that coat, right? You get that gear. It's blood in, it's blood out. And, we even hear him joking about that in videos, and then he giggles afterwards, but it doesn't seem like he was kidding much, right? They really have gone out of their way to kind of build this thing into it's a Diddy cult, that whole damn enterprise. And you're right. It's an enterprise, right? We got a letter coming out on February 1st called the Enterprise Letter, and it's going to spill out